Hey everybody, it's GoblinX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another quick draft of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Without further ado, let's get into the pack 1. Pick 1 is not the strongest pack ever. Trained Erranks is a pretty nice aggro card. Desperate Bloodseeker is a pretty flexible black card. It can commit a crime by targeting your opponent, or it can fill your graveyard for all of the black graveyard recursion you have, particularly in like green-black decks. So I think these are both pretty premium commons, but the uncommons are pretty weak, as are the rares. I think I'm just going to take the funnest card here. While I do think Erranks or Bloodseeker, or maybe even the Desert, is the safest bet, I'm going to go for Tiny Bones, the Pickpocket. Pretty narrow card. For the most part, it's a 1-mana, 1/1 Death Touch, but if you're lucky, you can set up a position where maybe you get to cast a removal spell during your opponent's end step on their one blocker, then you untap, send in, and recast their own blocker against them, casting that non-land permanent from their grave off of Tiny Bones' ability. So fun card. Usually it's just a 1-mana, 1/1 Death Touch, but if you can do this a single time, it is an excellent value play. So I'm going to gamble on it. We're going to try to get Tiny Bones going. For pick 2, we have Forsaken Miner, which is fine for really aggressive black decks, and we're probably trying to be pretty aggressive with Tiny Bones, so I do like that option. It sticks to just one color for now as well. But other options are Throw from the Saddle. That's green's best removal spell at common, and it works well with Tiny Bones because of the Death Touch. You can just kill anything when you have Tiny Bones on the board and you cast a Throw from the Saddle, so that would be super reasonable here. Jailbreak Scheme is a solid bounce spell out of blue, a little tempo bounce. Desperado's fine too. If you go for like a blue-black controlling deck, you can try to mill your opponent out with enough crimes over time, but I don't think I want to take that kind of card super early. Throw from the Saddle, Jailbreak Scheme, Forsaken Miner. I think these are my top 3 right now, but I'll go for the Miner, sticking to black. And I'm pretty happy to be in black, because that's a Hollow Marauder now, pick 3. This is one of the best uncommons in the format. It's not that hard for this to be 5 or 6 mana, and at that point it's a very good deal. A 4/2 flyer that makes your opponent discard a card, and half the time you get to draw a card off of it as well. This is a really excellent card to recur. It's only got 2 toughness, so it's going to trade off pretty frequently. Then you can pick it up with something like Mourner Surprise, hit them with that nasty enter the battlefield effect, just right back at it. It can be super gross, so I'm going to take Hollow Marauder here and be pretty dang excited about that one. Pick 4, we have a reasonable red removal spell. We've got a reasonable blue combat tricky thing. We've also got a reasonable black creature. Ambush Gigapede has played a lot better than it looks. Again, just these really high power creatures with solid enter the battlefield effects. Especially with the lower toughness have played well because there's so many ways to recur them from the grave. So you just play this thing, you get its enter the battlefield effect to kill your opponent's smaller creature, you trade it off with one of their bigger creatures, and then you just pick it right back up with one of the many graveyard recursion spells. I think this is pretty solid for the kind of deck that wants to run Hollow Marauders. Pick 5, that's a pretty late Trained Erranks and Giant Beaver. Those are both just very big creatures for their mana costs with great mount abilities, so those are definitely options, but can also be mono black with another Ambush Gigapede, and I shall take that. Pick 6, Shoot the Sheriff has played a lot better than I thought it would early. Early in the format, whenever I tried to draft it, I feel like I was always against like red and black, which just have tons of outlaws, and this plays super bad, but green has turned out to be one of the strongest colors, and there's very few outlaws in green. So this is just good at killing a lot of the just big, beefy creatures of the format. So it's still a pretty great card, and I think it's the best card in the pack outside of maybe Jolene. But Jolene's hard. Starting mono black, trying to go full Jund for. Jagged Barrens is really nice too. You do want to take the deserts pretty highly, but I don't think I'll take it over Shoot the Sheriff when we're this deep into black. Pick 7, this is all pretty mediocre. I think my favorite of these cards is Make Your Own Luck by a little bit. It's a pretty huge card draw if we go for Sultai, green, blue, black. But Sterling Supplier is a solid top-end threat in white, too. Just really don't like that Buzzard very much. Pick 8, Link Breaker is okay if we go black-white in particular, where there's a lot of sacrifice synergies to use this card with. Alternatively, we take a completely off-colored Desert. Yeah, I'll take the Link Breaker. Pick 9, there's another Gigapede. I think I would rather have a Treasure Dredger or a Binding Negotiation over a third Gigapede. Negotiation is a little awkward because it is a bad draw late in the game when your opponent's out of spells. But in your opening hand, it's played pretty decently. There's a lot of very high impact cards that it's nice to rip out of your opponent's hand before they do anything. It's also pretty bad against Golgari, like green-black graveyard recursion stuff, but outside of those instances, it is good in your opening hand. Pick 10, the Desperado did come back around if we want to go for blue-black crime control. The only other particularly interesting option is Corrupted Conviction, I guess. I'll take the Desperado, but I'm certainly not married to that idea right now. Now a Spring Splasher can commit a crime every turn with the Desperado. Is cute. Alright, pack 2, pick 1. Well, okay then. I think Rena's sending a message here when the best cards are Lazov and Intimidation Campaign. It's like, get back into blue-black, please, and thank you. And that's really the strongest options out of this pack by far. Everything else is pretty mediocre, so guess we're on Intimidation Campaign or Lazov. This deck might be a better Lazov deck than Intimidation Campaign deck this time around, because we actually have a decent creature count, where just the fact that Lazov beats down is pretty legitimate. Yeah, maybe. I do like Intimidation Campaign better in a vacuum, though, because it grinds out so much more consistently. Lazov feels like it always just draws a removal spell from your opponent. There's not too many other blue or black creatures that really need to be killed, you know? I'm still going to go Intimidation Campaign over Lazov, but I could see an argument for either. The Intimidation Campaign, if you don't know, it just lets you draw a card basically every time you commit a crime. You're putting this back in your hand, you're recasting it, draining a life from your opponent, drawing another card. It's really good with cards like Consuming Ashes, just efficient removal, so we will take that. Fibblethip looks really fun and really cool, but Fibblethip has just played way too slow for the format. You can't really afford to cast all of your spells a turn after you spend the mana on them, unfortunately. That's just insanely slow for draft. Pick 3. With Intimidation Campaign, we want really cheap ways to commit crimes. Like really heavily. We want to pick those highly, so I think I'm going for Shoot the Sheriff here over Vault Plunderer even. Because it's a super cheap crime committing card. Now we have Lazov here competing with Honest Rutstein if we go full Sultai. I'm going to take Lazov. I'm pretty locked in on blue-black here, but there's Marauding Sphinx too? Ooh. You know, I might actually go for the Marauding Sphinx, because this isn't the kind of card that's going to wheel, because if any of these bots are in blue, then they're going to scoop this up, but there have to be bots in specifically blue-black for them to take Lazov, and we already have another Lazov that's potentially coming back to us, and because it's legendary, it's not the kind of card you're going to want to get more than 2 copies of. Even more than 1 copy starts to get to be a potential downside, so I'm going to take Marauding Sphinx here, actually. Also, Jagged Barons is super reasonable. Pick 5, Stop Cold looks okay, or we can just take a crime land. It's an on-color crime no matter what, even if we're not actually fixing off of it. It's just a tapped black source that commits a crime. Stop Cold is considerably weaker than basically any of black's removal because they actually get the card off the board, like, you know, double Shoot the Sheriff, Consuming Ashes, so I think I will go ahead and take the crime. Pick 6. It's all pretty mediocre. Maybe we've got enough instants to just slam down a 4/4 if we're not committing a crime here. Could take another Make Your Own Luck and lock in on a green splash. Yeah, I could really see Thunder Thief getting cut, but I'll take another Make Your Own Luck. I don't really want to splash these in if we don't find any green deserts, but if we do, these could be pretty good. I will take another Marauding Sphinx. That looks awesome. And that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't love Rooftop Assassin if your creature count is less than like 15, because you really want to be getting into combat very often for this ability to be good. I guess our creature count's 11 already. And I don't think I want to play more than like 2 Gigapedes. And I don't think Shifting Grift is very good. Or Sterling Hound. So I guess I'll still take the Assassin, but It's probably one of the first cards that gets cut, as is the Stop Cold. And the Thunder Thief. Seize the Secrets. Conduit Pylons can help the mana a little bit. If we do splash in the Make Your Own Looks. Pack 3, pick 1, what have we got? Well, we can't really splash in a green-white card, sadly. And the on-color cards suck. I mean, Forsaken Miner's good, but it's good in aggro, and we're really controlling, we're not aggressive. Honestly, our first copy of Forsaken Miner probably has to get cut here. We need creatures that can actually block or removal spells and stuff like that. We're going to have a low enough creature count that Skullduggery is not going to be super consistent. You have to have a creature on board to even cast this. And Gin of Fools falls pretty bad, so honestly we could just rare draft Sylvala, but I think Soured Springs, an on-color dual land desert, is actually pretty valuable here, so I am going to take that over the rare draft. Now we get a nice cheap removal spell to go with our desert. The Desert's Due. We've got 3 deserts in the deck, so this is -2/-2 or -3/-3 sometimes. Pretty good for only 2 mana. This doesn't do anything, does it? Nope, you are not creating artifact tokens very often in this format. Thank you, the big score. Very cool. Pack 3, pick 3. Our fixing isn't great right now. We have 1 green source and it's a Conduit Pylons, so I'm a little sketched out about trying to take an Honest Rutstein or a Badlands Revival and just really praying for some more green dual lands. I feel like Desperate Bloodseeker and Failed Fording, these are both just 100% going into this deck, even if we can't afford to splash green, so I should probably lock in on one of those. Even the Phantom Interference is pretty fine here. I'm going to get some lifelink into the deck and take the Bloodseeker. Pick 4, we now have a fine bounce spell from Jailbreak Scheme, 3 mana, put their best card back on top of their deck. Now we have the Raven of Fell Omens to drain some life from our opponent, give us a little breathing room off that. Nothing playable here, pick 6. So, just rare draft. Uncommon I don't have a play set of yet. Oh, wow. Well, things really chunked up here. This is a super good pack. Vault Plunderer and Mourner's Surprise being the very good cards. So the Graveyard Recursion to recast a Gigapede or a Hollow Marauder or a big Marauding Sphinx or something does feel kind of sweet. Our creature count's a little low, so this isn't like always castable, but this is great when it is. Plunderer is more consistent. It's just always gonna hit the board, trade off into one of their attackers, and draw us a card. We are on 0 Graveyard Recursion right now. This is really close. I think these are both... these would both be excellent in this deck. Just going to go for the Vault Plunderer, though. I just think it's the more consistent card in a deck that's going to cut down to a lower creature count. Now we have Desperate Bloodseeker or Failed Fording. I mean, these are both crimes. So I'll go for the Bloodseeker here for more life gain. We're not going to be a good Skullduggery deck, so actually just rare draft the uncommon again. Not playing any of this, so rare draft. And that's probably the same for the rest of the draft. Yeah, and I don't think we're doing this, this green splash. I'll still play the Conduit Pylons and the off-color Desert for our Desert's Due. But we're at 45 cards. None of the cards in the sideboard are on color. So we just find the 5 weakest cards, the 5 cards that make the least sense with our game plan. We've got Link Breaker here with like no good reasons to sack it. It's just 2 chump blockers, which is not that good. Forsaken Miner can't block at all, which is not good for us when we're not aggressive. Spring Splasher can technically commit a crime every turn to trigger Intimidation Campaign or Desperado, but it only does that if it's constantly attacking, so it's not great in a defensive deck unless you have really good reasons to commit crimes. I don't think the deck wants crimes that badly when I have so many other spells that are doing it. What else here? These muscles are pretty mediocre. Just a 5 mana 5/4 basically. They can't get indestructible at instant speeds that are only indestructible on attacks. Once again, pretty mediocre on the defensive. This would drop us down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 creatures, which makes Rooftop Assassin kind of bad too. Yeah, some combination of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 cuts here, so Miner for sure, Link Breaker for sure. Muscles. If I keep the Splasher in, the Assassin gets better, because that's a really good way to just like surprise sneak in that Assassin, because you're always just going to attack Splasher into much bigger creatures and your opponent isn't going to think twice about it. All of a sudden, oops, Rooftop Assassin. Could be a thing, but again, creature count at like 14 here is a little low for Rooftop Assassin stuff. Still feels better than like a Daring Thunder Thief. Like, even if I don't get the Enter the Battlefield effect and I just get a 2/2 flying lifelink instead of a 4/4, that's probably fine. Yeah, I'll keep it in for the few times it does actually pop off, because the times it doesn't, it's not that much worse than a 4/4. Lifelink being a pretty big deal, especially on an evasive threat. So, yeah, we'll lock it in. We will call it a deck here. All right, here's a look at our final deck list for today. We are on a blue-black crimes deck. We've got a lot of cheap removal spells for our crimes. Shoot the Sheriffs, Desert's Due. Jailbreak Scheme is a cheap bounce spell. Binding Negotiation, cheap discard. So those are all crimes to commit, with Intimidation Campaign being probably our best crime payoff, getting us to draw another card every time we commit a crime. But we also have the Raven to drain our opponents some life, the Deep Muck Desperado to mill them out, and the Marauding Sphinxes to really set up our draws as we are committing crimes. So just, yeah, another solid little blue-black deck with a ton of interaction in it, and a ton of cards that that get excited when we cast our interactions. So pretty decent stuff today. No bombs or anything super splashy here, so we'll definitely get out power leveled by some decks, but hopefully we've got so much removal that that won't matter too much. We'll see how it all plays out for us as we head into the gameplay. All right, here we are for game one, and this looks pretty fine. I just realized this is our first deck that has like multiple mill cards. We've got a couple Bloodseekers and the Desperado. So if we're lucky with our curve out, we could like stack some of those together to really mill our opponent pretty quickly. Playing against green-white. Should be a solid matchup for our Shoot the Sheriffs. No play. Turn 2, here's the Bloodseeker. Let's see what they're up to. Ooh, Dance of the Tumbleweeds, that could have been a really big creature later. XX, where X is number of lands they control, and it searches for one of those lands. He's a Patient Naturalist. They get to mill 3 and put a land from milled cards into their hand. So Conduit Pylons it is. Milled an Unlicensed Hearse and a Hard Bristled Bandit as well. Alright. That is a Human Scout, so I could shoot it to start gaining life, but I'd rather just play the Vault Plunderer. Draw my card. Find an Ambush Gigapede. Plotted a Free Strider Commando, so they're going to have a 5/5 coming up, but we've got tons of options to kill that. Again, we don't kill the Naturalist against a green deck. We just save removal for their bigger cards. Probably cast the Stop Gold here. But I guess that would get rid of our only way to deal with an Outlaw, but there's really not too many out of green or white. Oh, never mind. The 5/5 is an Outlaw. It's a mercenary. So we have to Stop Cold instead of Shoot the Sheriff anyway. Snakeskin Veil, where that is annoying. That card is super nuts. In the set, Because there's a lot of decks that are going to be focused on just playing a bunch of removal because of all the crime payoffs and stuff. Luckily, I've got a Gigapede to try to just trade into a 6/6 coming up. That'll take a little while because we only have a tap land to play next turn. I just take 6 here, go to 12. Still plenty of life. Spinewood's Armadillo. Well, there is my shoot the sheriff target. Ward 3, so I have to tap out for this, and then I don't get to binding negotiation them. I think that's fine, so I can get my vigilant attack in against their reach. Ooh, find another Marauding Sphinx? Sure, and then this will be my 7th land. I don't need a 7th land. Alright. Looks good to me. Probably will go ahead and chump with the 2/2 lifelinker next turn. Well, I don't know. It is so close. We go down to 6 life on board if I don't jump. But then I can, like, Gigapede. Trade Gigapede into Commando anyway the turn after that. I'm just going to play it safe here. I'm going to take the chump. I think I've got enough good cards in hand that I can lose one on board without, like, finding a double block on something later. Alright, yeah, that, I can shoot that. That's the sheriff. Can also do really gross Gigapede things against that if they don't have, if they don't have a Snakeskin Veil in hand still. But they'd have to cast the Snakeskin Veil right when I target it, so then they couldn't Snakeskin Veil to save the Free Strider Commando from the Gigapede, so they would need, like, Snakeskin Veil and another trick here to be super happy. Consuming Ashes is a definite keep. But yeah, because now I can trade the 3/1 into that, and I can trade the 6/2 into the 6/6. Yeah, they need 2 combat tricks to be happy here. They've got the Take Up the Shield. Wow. Alright, they've got the Take Up the Shield and the Snakeskin Veil. Although the Snakeskin Veil wasn't enough there. They had to do that pre the ability. Alright, well that worked out well for me. At least they did sequence it out incorrectly there. Let us get the kill. Had they Snakeskin Veiled in response to the Gigapede trigger, that would have been rough. Okay. Ooh, Greenblade's a mercenary. That's not fun for me. And now our binding negotiation is useless, which is part of the problem with that card. Well, I guess we are going to poke for 3, exile the commando, surveil 4, and block the Greenblade. And I am... Never mind. I was going to say that I'm also holding up a Shoot the Sheriff, but I only have 2 natural black sources, so technically I'm not holding up a Shoot the Sheriff. Oh, what a top deck. They did surveil off a Conduit Pylon, so it's not like a blind draw, but that's still so good. They hit us for 6 now. Well, let's make sure to surveil 4 by casting this before the Sphinx dies. I like Intimidation Campaign, but I don't think I have time. I'm going to 5 life with no removal that actually kills the Greenblade. Bloodseeker doesn't do anything about the Green Blade or the Naturalist. Yeah, nope. I do think I need a land, genuinely. I need to be able to play Sphinx and shoot the Sheriff something in the same turn. To not just be like dead. Well, I guess worst case scenario, binding negotiation is a surveil too. Oh my god, yeah. Lassoed by the Law was just actually perfect, because it also means the Green Blade attacks as a 5/5, so the Sphinx doesn't even block well here. Well, that's devastating. Completely wasn't even thinking of the mercenary that came from the lasso, and they top-decked gas. And sack their token to draw a card, and their 2/3 to draw a card if they want. At least it doesn't sack itself. Now we're dead on board. RIP. Massive underperformer goes to binding negotiation there. The shoot the sheriffs were also awkward. Well, the second copy was awkward. But really, I think it was just our opponent having like 3 combat tricks in a row that got us there. Having a snakeskin veil and then also a take up the shield and another snakeskin veil to keep their stuff around. That was what kept them in the game there to find those last points of damage. What can you do? We are 0-1 heading into game 2. Alright, here we are on the play for game 2. If they play any creature, the Splasher gets to target it, and then the Seas of Secrets is 2 mana draw 2, even if I don't hit a land. If they don't play a creature, I guess we just binding negotiation. Boom! I may not have my 3rd land, but I can still cast my 3 mana draw spell. Let's go, Splasher. Uh-oh. At knife point, every time they commit a crime, they also get a mercenary. That's threatening. You know what else is threatening? Missing land drops. So we're going to dig, and there we go. Land 4. Now I can Raven plus negotiation, so we get the life drain by committing a crime. Uh-oh. Another mercenary. Now when any of their mercenaries die, they drain us for a life. When any of their outlaws die, so even more than just the mercenaries. Okay, let's negotiate a little bit here. See if we can get rid of like a really good crime to stop this stuff from all comboing off. Well, that's a decent crime. It's got madness, so if they had a red source untapped, they could cast it even when I make them discard it, but they don't. So it's just discarded. I don't hate these ending up in the grave when we have Hollow Marauder on board. And their stuff has First Strike during their turns. These are terrible blockers against First Strike anyway. Sure. Trade my 3/1 into a 1/1. It's got no text, and that can make my Hollow Marauder cheaper. Ooh. Somehow I didn't even notice that. The Duelist is a way to commit a crime every turn to get a mercenary back at knife point. That's pretty nasty. I think I'm still okay with just throwing Vault Plunder into the graveyard, because again, it's not going to do any blocking ever, because their whole board has First Strike. But now I do actually just want to kill Duelist pretty quickly here. Now if I want to kill Duelist, it means not casting Marauding Sphinx. Which can't be worth it, right? We gotta just play the Great Flyer. Yeah. Let's just slam down a bunch of good flyers in a row and kill them in the sky pretty quickly. I don't know how I missed the reach. They got the giant reach logo and I still missed it. Not that it matters a lot here. It only matters if they attack with a 1/1, which is unlikely. If they attack with like a 2/1, then Raven's already not even trading. Alright, well, looks like it's time for Hollow Marauder. Because I'm going to chump that and get another creature in grave. Okay. At least Marauding Sphinx is already a good attacker. You know, I guess I can send in both again, and maybe they'll think because last turn I sent it in with no reason to, that I'm also sending it for no reason this turn, and they will block, and then I get to ambush Gigapede the Duelist. No, they didn't block. Well, that's extra damage for free then. That does mean I have no way to kill Duelist. I mean, I can stop cold it. Probably not worth it when the alternative is playing a Hollow Marauder, which is nuts. Well, I love those cards. Probably Intimidation Campaign plus Deserts too. Next turn. I guess since they discarded a land and we got the draw off of Marauder, I could play Campaign plus Jailbreak Scheme instead. We just Jailbreak Scheme the Duelist, force them to redraw it if they want to keep the knife point combo coming. I would really like to hold up Deserts Dew though, so that I can kill whatever they choose to buff, because they can't really block it well. And if I just sorcery speed bounce a Vault Plunder, they'll just like super buff a Wolverine or something. So I don't know, let's see what we draw off Campaign, but I kind of think I'm just holding up instant speed Deserts Dew here. Rooftop Assassin. Yeah, let's just hold up the Deserts Dew, and they die in 2 swings. Bounce off the Raven, take 7. No bounce, just take it all. Go to 5. Okay, now I really want to have an instant up. For whatever nonsense this is about to be. Murder the Sphinx, spend the 2. They're still dead in the sky if we bounce their reach blocker, which we can do. Honestly, maybe even if we don't, because of the life drain we can get going here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage on board. Well, let's stop one of the biggest creatures and gain a life. I'm gonna kill the Wolverine, because if I kill the Plunderer, they also drain me for one from the Rakish crew. So this way it's just I gain the life, they don't make me lose a life. Cool, down to 5. They're down to 4, and here is the scheme on the duelist. Block her out of the way. Drain them for life. They need 2 mana removal, or they're dead. I think I'm going to only attack with Marauder, because either way, if they can kill Marauder, then they live here. This way I'm slightly less likely to die. I probably die regardless. They have the removal, but it looks like they do not. And we are now 1-1 and into game 3. All right, here we are for game 3. We got a real mill game going here. Got Bloodseeker with Desperado. It's a mill 5 right there. I'm gonna see if I can top deck a land so I can go Raven into Desperado into Bloodseeker once the Desperado's out and we actually care about the crimes. Playing against green-white, they're on the play and they started with the best common 2-drop in the set, the Trained Airings. Not looking good. Most aggressive archetype with the most aggressive creature. But then they played a defender, so that helps a lot. Turn 3 is just a defender. Thank you, Red Rock Sentinel, very cool. Here's Deep Muck Desperado. I don't think Mill's going to be a viable strategy against one of the fastest archetypes in the format, but who knows? Don't have that clear shot. Well, that's not as bad as if they had the common, because then it would be a permanent +1/+1 counter instead of just +1/+1 till end of turn. But it does mean their 3/1 is just going to keep attacking right past my 2/4, because my 2/4 is dead. Well, I can stop the Airings cold. Yeah, I mean, all my cards are so low toughness, it's going to be really hard to deal with a 3/1 first strike otherwise. So, I guess that's where we're at. I'm going to stop cold and try to have our creatures trade into their other stuff. Old Tech Matter Weaver. Well, that's a massive bummer. Get another 1/1 every time they cast a creature. That's going to be an absurdly large board. Easily. This jailbreak scheme is something. Ooh, we milled a Betrayal at the vault? That's a good hit. Go for it. These creatures are expendable. Combat trick the heck out of me or lose your Matter Weaver. Sure. I will happily get that out of the way. They have no creatures in their hand, so unless they top deck one, just going for Gigapede here might be perfectly fine. And they probably top deck one though, because they have the Sentinel to crack a land. But hey, we can give them 1/1/1 and then kill the Matter Weaver. Show me another big combat trick. I guess instant speed removal again would work. Snakeskin Veil doesn't work here. I mean, it'll make sure that our Gigapede actually dies instead of killing the Matter Weaver for free, but it's still going to get rid of the Matter Weaver. Is that another clear shot? Oh god, it's even worse. Flicker their own card to save it from our enchantment removal. Yeah, this is another reason Stop Cold's pretty bad. Well, our opponent is at 12. And Raven is doing Raven things. We can get our Marauding Sphinx on board and probably outrace them in the sky, but then I'm letting them have this Matter Weaver nonsense. Feel like it's worth it to get the Summoning Sickness out of the way, really put the pressure on their life total here. We could kill them in 2 swings potentially this way. Alright, well that is the sheriff. We have appointed the large horde of cat beasts to be sheriff of this here town. Actually, no, I'm probably supposed to jailbreak scheme first though, right? Just get them to recast that thing. Yeah, and that also gets more damage off of the jailbreak scheme. I was about to put a +1/+1 counter on their Felidar. Alright, that's a good draw. Get our draw 2. Okay, so now they redraw and recast the Felidar thing, and then we just kill them in the sky. They have to cast some kind of interaction or they're dead on board. A flyer theoretically works, but we have the removal for that. That's the actual sheriff. I lied the whole time. It was Sheriff Birdman all along. That will be lethal. There's a concession. We are now... Are we 3-1 here? Nope, we're 2-1. It's just been kind of a long game or two here. 2-1 heading into game 4. Alright, here we are on the play for game 4. This is a very slow hand. Not going to do anything until turn 4, and on turn 4 all I'm doing is playing removal, but kind of what the deck's about. Might be fine, especially if we draw Intimidation Campaign. That is a really good draw for this hand. Uh-oh. Playing against Rakdos, they've got the 2-mana 3/2 that damages us every time they play anything. Any outlaw creatures, that is, but still. Well, let's get 1 point of life gain and draw a card to try to find cheap interaction. Yeah, shit, the sheriff is really, really miserable against Rakdos Outlaws. So that's... We essentially did not draw a card off of Intimidation Campaign. Because I would be surprised if they have more than 2 non-outlaws in their deck, and currently everything on their board is an outlaw. So that's looking real bad for us. Ooh, that might not be an outlaw. Oh, no, it's an aura, so... Auras are, in fact, not outlaws. Well, at least we've got an untapped land to play this turn and next turn. So we play an untapped land, we have Consuming Ashes up. We consume the Vial Smasher, put Intimidation Campaign back to hand. Actually, we consume whatever they target with Demonic Ruckus, that's better. And we're just super happy if they target Vial Smasher, that's perfect. That is what I already wanted to consume. So now they don't draw the Demonic Ruckus card. We do draw into a Gigapede. I think Gigapede is impactful enough. I want an untapped land for it. So I want to go untapped land Sphinx, untapped land Gigapede for my next 2 turns. So I keep the swamp too. Rictus Robber, just a 4/3, but it is, unfortunately, an outlaw. So our only play is Marauding Sphinx. Shoot the Sheriff doesn't do anything. They have 2 cards left in their hand. Oh, that can just shut off a blocker every turn. Ward 2 helps. They have to spend their whole turn doing that once they have 6 mana on board. They can't do it right now because of the ward. They have 4 mana up for that. They need 5. So Reckless Lackey is the play, which is also an outlaw. I guess I could Boombox the Verge. That's funny. I think it's going to be a little bit better to ambush Gigapede, but that is funny. Alright, well, we're about to be combat tricked into oblivion. What is this? They have 1 card in their hand? Oh, it's the 4 mana 2/2 that's going to finish this off for having taken damage. Yikes. I mean, I think I still have to stop the damage, so we just blocked the biggest creature here. If I block the Lackey, then they can kill the Sphinx without even losing the Lackey, because they first strike and then finish off a creature that's dealt damage. Oh, never mind. Why did I forget about my own ward? Yeah, we're fine. We're so fine, actually. It still feels a little safer to Gigapede than it does to Boombox, but Boombox looks good here too. We kill the Robber and the Verge. If they're going to lose the Lackey, then actually... You know, Boomboxing the Swamp doesn't feel terrible either. Guess I could have done this later to kill the treasure too, but whatever, this is fine. Yeah, killing the swamp doesn't seem terrible. I'm still just going to kill Sandstorm Verge. Get the heck out of here, shoot the sheriff. I do not want an additional copy of that. Ooh, Deadeye Duelist, that can keep pinging us even if it can't attack in. Alright, well, I think we're good to just Marauding Sphinx combo off here. Intimidation campaign combo off. I don't think we need to play any more creatures right now. I hate those cards, but they're not insane. They're just not particularly relevant. Ooh, hello there. Binding Negotiation is good. 3 cards in their hand. Let's see what they're up to. Okay, those are really fun. I probably shouldn't keep Tiny Bones, but I'm going to. And there's the concession from our opponent. Just got so many cards in our hand. We're going to recast an Intimidation campaign here. I'm about to rip something out of their hand. They are over this control nonsense, and we are officially 3-1 now, getting another 50-50 record at worst. But hopefully we can win at least one more round. Just keep rolling with the positive record with these blue-black decks. Well, this could be fun. Turn 1 Tiny Bones with the turn 2 Bloodseeker to try to get a permanent into their grave. Cast against them. Maybe we'll get there. I doubt we're going to get a 0 mana non-land permanent. I don't think they're running Ornithopter or anything, but hey! There's a 2 mana one. If they don't play a creature here, I get to cast their own 2/2. Oh, let's go. Oh, please let me do the thing. Yes. Oh my god, Tiny Bones. Going crazy this game. Boom. Thank you for the Stable Master. And in fact, if they somehow have a real slow start, okay, I was going to say, if they have a really slow start here, things are going to go really bad for them, because then I cast their Cactarantula against them off of the Stable Master's ramp. That would have been so rude. It's wild. Alright, well I can still play Desperado plus Splasher, which feels nice. Load those up for crime combo. Trade into the 2/2 here. Get it out of the way. And get it into their graveyard for tiny bones. Alright, they cast a creature, I stop cold that, and then I splasher that, and then cast something that costs 2 mana if I top deck a land. They don't have one that costs 2 mana though. Dang. I mean, they might after Desperado. Mills them. Aloe Alchemist. 2 mana, 3/2 trample. We hit a Jailbreak Scheme. How much is it for the full thing? 6 mana. I only have 5. Let's draw a card here. Find a Binding Negotiation? I do not hate that at all. I've got another Aloe Alchemist we just milled. There's a Posse Boss, Dance the Tumbleweeds, Cactarantula, Clear Shot. Ooh, their hand is good. I think we get rid of the Posse Boss. I mean, they don't have double red right now. That's going to be an insane amount of blocks. I mean, Dance the Tumbleweeds and Cactarantula are both going to be really big creatures, and Clear Shot's their only removal. And with Jailbreak Scheme and Stop Cold, I can deal with individual big creatures. I actually think I'm just going to get rid of their removal. Just ditch the Clear Shot here. Make it so they have to trade an actual creature into the Spring Splasher if they want to get it off our board. And they do. Alright, use the Dance of Tumbleweeds to find the red source. Okay, now I can use like any kind of removal on this 1/1, and then I get to cast whatever I want from their grave. I guess just an Aloe Alchemist, but worth it. This is going to be the best Tiny Bones game I think I've ever played. Cast another card here. There's the Posse Boss for many blockers. Alright, let's Raven so that we're draining them for life every time we commit a crime. Let's get rid of the 2/4 as a blocker and drain some life. Send in these. Send in this, they block there. Trump there. I don't hate sending in Vault Plunder as well. I think Tiny Bones is the only really bad attack. Yeah. They are over it. That is going to be 4-1. Another positive record out of these quick drafts. Seeing how far we can take it. Maybe we can get to another at least 6-win run. Get up in gems again. We'll find out soon enough as we head into game 6. Alright, here we are for game number 6. We got the Desperado to start things off with some crimes to commit alongside it. It was relevant last game, filling the grave with stuff to bring back with Tiny Bones, but unless we somehow mill like 26 cards here over time, it's probably not going to be relevant, but we'll see. Playing against Black-Red Outlaws again, so Shoot the Sheriff looking horrific once again. Yep, that's every single card they've played so far is an Outlaw. Desert Stew looks pretty solid here, though. Alright, let's see if they get another... Well, not another, if they have a trick here to win this fight. Not the end of the world to lose our 2-drop. If they do have the trick. Would be pretty bad to lose the 2/4 though. Okay, it's just their own Desert Stew, sure. That is fine. We just pretend they spent removal on the Raven. because they did. Really need to hit a couple lands here, but if we do, that's going to be awesome. I think the order things go if I jailbreak scheme something is that they mill first and then it goes on top, so they will get to keep the card if they want to. But the Death Touch is still the most annoying card. And I would like to commit a crime every turn, so I'm just going to commit that crime. If we're really lucky, we'll hit a desert next turn, so we can play a tap land that commits a crime. Be kind of sweet. Okay, I was going to say, what is going on up there? They did put it back on top. That's what's going on. Their card sleeve just grew a bunch of text. Whoa, that is a really fancy card sleeve. No! My 2/4 has been consumed. Okay. I need to go runner. I need land into land or we are dead. Alright. If our next draw is not land, we are going to have a really bad time. If it is land, we still need to work to stabilize here, but double Gigapede can go a pretty long way. No, they had graveyard recursion. Yikes. Well, pre-sideboarded opponent destroys us for milling them. And Rakdos joins up, locks us out of the game. Well, we didn't hit land 6 anyway, so we were still just dead. I just can't even play a Gigapede. So, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, exact lethal. That is 4 and 2, heading into round 7. All right, here we are for game number 7. We gotta win every game from now on or we're out of the event, but maybe Tiny Bones killing their first permanent with Deserts do to then reanimate it against them? Maybe that's enough? We'll find out. One can dream. Please do not play a 2-mana creature. Thank you. And then, would you be so kind as to cast a 3-mana creature that's small enough to die to Deserts do? No. Alright, they're just going to steer clear, which means I'm screwed. Dang it. Well, then I guess we're getting the boombox out of the way. Otherwise, I was going to hold up the Deserts do mana to try to kill their turn 3 play and then hit them with Tiny Bones to cast it against them. Okay, that was way too sturdy anyway. Okay, so we are 1 land away from consuming Ashes. Any land gets to kill the Congregation Gryph and Surveil 2 to help us find the next lands we need to get to Hollow Marauder and Gigapede. So, obviously our hand doesn't look great, but we are 1 land draw from being in a solid position. So, game is certainly not over here. Oh, they're going to recast that? Alright, well that's really helpful. That buys me a little bit of time. Alright. Didn't hit the land yet, but we've got some time to get there. A little bit of breathing room. They have to just recast the Gryph now. Alright, and there's the land. Let's go. I do like consuming Ashes on Gryph for the Surveil here. Look for mana. Yeah. That is good enough to not Spring Splasher. I was debating still playing the Spring Splasher because the fact that this commits a crime every single turn is very fun with the Raven on the board. But like then I'm letting them keep their lifelinker, so they're just going to gain some life next turn and get that life drain just completely counteracted anyway. Alright, if they have a Snakeskin Veil, they've got a Snakeskin Veil. They have so much mana, there's no way they're going to tap out of it. Costs a single green. Let's see. They do not have a Snakeskin Veil. Let's get a Surveil here. These are not lands. They're good cards, but we need lands, so goodbye, my friends. There we go. There's land 5 towards Gigapede and Boombox, and Hollow Marauder's castable thanks to milling those creatures. Yeah, let's go for the Hollow Marauder. That feels pretty good. Ooh, nice. I was going to say I'm going to attack first because technically that way, if they kill Raven with something during combat, that means I can cast Hollow Marauder and Spring Splasher in the same turn. I thought it was such a corner case that it wasn't even worth mentioning in commentary, but that is why I sequence things like that. I'm very surprised that that panned out that way, but hey, we take those. That's kind of sick. Miss out on 1 point of life drain to instead get to play 2 creatures in the turn. Oh no. Railway Brawler? Well, good thing I've got 6 mana up for this boombox. They know exactly what's going to happen when they play that thing. So hopefully boombox convinces them not to play that thing. They play some weaker creature, I play Gigapede and just kill them. Nope, they're just going to cast it. They're just going to go for it. Maybe they have the Snakeskin Veil in hand now. Or maybe they had the Indestructible trick in hand. Let's see. Creature, land. Yeah, that is devastating. I think we probably lose then because Railway Brawler is a top tier bomb. I guess Hollow Marauder can still deal with it here. 3 power, Gigapede makes it small enough to kill Splasher here, but not Marauder against Gigapede. Okay. Well, I guess we're not killing Railway Brawler, but we get some damage in. Keep our board. Yeah, no, I mean, if we can't clear out the Brawler, we're so dead, but we have tons of removal spells in our deck that can do it. Like, they just play 2 mana 2/2s and they're 4/4s, which stop the Splasher in its tracks. I mean, it's a 6/6 reach by itself, so it stops Marauder in its tracks. If they don't get more life gain, we've got some large creatures on board, but there's the Exile removal on the Gigapede. I guess that was our only creature big enough to attack into the Brawler. Oh my god, there we go. That's Jailbreak Scheme. 7 damage here. Force them to recast the Railway Brawler. Yeah. Oh no, I've got a better idea. I should have noticed this immediately. We just don't pay the full mana value so that I can just play a Bloodseeker after this. Oh my god. Okay, this was... Well, I guess they saw my shenanigan coming. Unfortunate. I was going to say, I guess this was the best removal spell to draw, because I get to feel smart for doing it this way. Because I get to put it on top of their deck and then mill it. But then they put it on the bottom. So I guess they just realized I never would have not spent all of the mana on Jailbreak Scheme unless I had another play. And they were like, well, what if that play is mill? All right. We managed to fight our way through the Railway Brawler and stick in this draft. Super close, though. Railway Brawler almost got us, but we top-decked removal at basically the last opportunity, and we are now 5-2. Just trying to get one more win to end up with more gems than we spent to enter, but no matter what, we've got a real positive record on this one. All right, here we are for game 8. We are 5-2. I think we're on the draw here. Yeah, our opponent has taken a mulligan, and they start with Forlorn Flats, the black-white duel. We will start with the Soured Springs. Ooh, we've got an Intimidation campaign coming up with a Resolved Spring Splasher on board. Unless this is the Sheriff. Or it faces the desert's dew. Well, they probably have cheap removal in their hand, but decided not to go with that on just a 2-1. The Link Breaker. Alright, well, maybe we get to get the Intimidation Campaign Spring Splasher free card draw value here. If it's a white removal spell, then I guess we don't. But if it was a cheap black removal spell like Desert's Dew or Shoot the Sheriff, then we do get to draw one extra card here off of the Splasher attacking in, which is kind of awesome. Yeah, alright, we committed a crime. We did the thing. I say the artwork on Spring Splasher, I think, is justifiably intimidating enough for this to make flavor sense. The Spring Splasher starting his own intimidation campaign. Baron Bertram. Bertram Greywater. That is a big enough deal. I kind of want to kill that before they can do any token nonsense, so I'm going to lose a bit of intimidation campaign value, but the card is so good we can spend a turn not getting value off of it and be a-okay. It'll still take us way ahead this game. Getaway Glamour, Gold Pan. Get rid of the Lawbringer here, I think, when they've got Link Breaker on board. And we'll shoot Baron. Alright, they're going to hit us for 2 a turn. We're going to hit them for 2 a turn, but we're going to keep randomly gaining a life and making them lose a life and drawing so many more cards than them. I think this is just 100% Intimidation Campaign's game. Just going to lock in the victory for us. I mean, Intimidation Campaign Splasher is just wild here. We basically just have a 3-mana activated ability at all times. Drain your opponent for a life and draw a card. Just get to keep doing this as much as we want. Who knew that the biggest criminal in Outlaws of Thunder Junction was the splashy little frog beast? It was your good old pal Mudkip. We have so many incredible options here. I could cast any of these spells and it would be a good play. But I think I'm just gonna be really annoying. Just keep using Intimidation Campaign with Spring Splasher. Saving all of this stuff just for in case somehow our opponent draws something incredible. Alright, they are going to kill the Splasher. This will be the last time we bounce Intimidation Campaign with it, but it still did tons of great work, so we're fine. Drain them down to 8 here. 8 life to 18, 7 cards in hand to 1. Seems reasonable. Seven mana. Let's go Vault Plunderer. Another land. Let's go Bloodseeker, pick up Intimidation Campaign, hold up Desert's Dew, or Shoot the Sheriff. I don't know if I'm going to be able to resist passing this card like ever again. Now that I've played a couple decks with it, This thing is silly. And I have just, like, drafted the same deck multiple times in a row again, but I feel like it's just, like, the ebb and flow of what Arena's been giving me, you know? Like, we got a bunch of green rares in a row, so we kept playing, like, green, white, and green, black. But then I opened a bunch of Gisas, so I ended up in blue, black a bunch, and then they gave me Intimidation Campaign. I feel like that's just another huge reason to just end up in blue, black, so here we are. It's weird how we end up clumping up with the same decks over and over. I'm sure it's partially self-imposed for sure. I get comfortable with the archetype, and then I like seeing the cards again. I'm like, those cards played really well last time. Let's try those cards again, you know? But it's weird. I think it's definitely partially self-imposed from familiarity with the cards, but also partially imposed by Arena. We are 6-2 now, officially in the money out of this draft, no matter what. And we've made it all the way to the final boss yet again. So, just an incredible record for the last 3 blue-black decks. 7-2 into 7-2. Can we do it 3 times in a row with blue-black? Let's find out as we head into the final battle of this draft, our final game, win or lose. All right. We're on the play with Intimidation Campaign in the opener, with the Deserts due for the cheap crime to commit. I will keep the hand. It's not going to have a great time against a nice aggressive green deck like green-white or green-red. But I think against a lot of archetypes, this is a pretty solid way to start things out. We are against Soul Tie, so it should be a grindier matchup. Ooh. Okay, well that is a little disappointing because now I have to just Deserts do the Varmint. Otherwise they get the kill campaign before I do anything with it. So, kind of sad to commit 1 crime before campaign, but again, as I said last game, you can get so much value off the Intimidation Campaign, you can afford not to pick it up on every single crime you ever do. Outcaster Greenblade, which is unfortunately an outlaw. So, I can't appoint that sheriff of this town. But Shoot the Sheriff is still going to be quite solid removal against a lot of other potential cards. Could Tiny Bones to have a Death Toucher on blocks, but I'd rather just hold up the Shoot the Sheriff here and cast Rooftop Assassin in the end step if they don't play like a beefy green creature. Start getting some lifelink going to try to outrace the Green Blade. Life gain from Assassin and life gain from Campaign can stack up pretty well. Forsaken Miner is definitely a bit of a threat because I don't have a good blocker for that yet. And it just keeps coming back. Raven of Fell Omens. Uh-oh. Really needed mana here. So, I feel like we gotta hold up Shoot the Sheriff again. Now we're taking 5, though. So I might have to just Tiny Bones trade in the Green Blade. At this point, if nothing else, that makes Marauder a little cheaper. So it does help with mana a tiny bit. And the 1/2 is just not going to block anything. Tiny Bones is only trying to block Green Blade, and if they just removal spell, that'll be bad. I think I'm just going to hold up Shoot the Sheriff. It's not a great position to be in here. We're rocking a hard place on what we want to do there. Take 5, go to 13. They pass turn, alright. Well, that is the mana we need to be able to actually cast a blocker and hold up the Shoot the Sheriff, so we're going to do that for sure. Alright, our flyer has had an unfortunate accident. Think I'm going to go for the Raven here so I can drain them for a life, but Tiny Bones Tiny Bones was probably actually the better choice because I could actually kill one of the blockers. Yeah, I should have just played Tiny Bones. That was not great. I could jump just to play Hollow Marauder. Yeah, Tiny Bones would have been so much better there. That I actually probably just punted the game off that one. Because we get to trade off into something to stop some damage, and then also, like, Hollow Marauder next turn guaranteed. Okay, Bloodseeker's a really good draw to help counteract that. Because that's going to gain me a life off of Raven here. It's going to pick up the Intimidation campaign. It's going to gain me life when it chump blocks or trades into Miner. They have no non-outlaws on board, so I think I campaign or Tiny Bones overshoot the Sheriff. I'm gonna Tiny Bones. Let's fill our grave for Hollow Marauder. Full defense, like I should have done last turn. You. Well, I guess they just had neutralized the guards against Tiny Bones, so Raven technically actually played better. I would have gotten hosed regardless. Alright. Well, at least that means it was not a punt that changed the course of the game at all. If we went for the correct line of playing Tiny Bones and trying to trade it off, Tiny Bones would just be dead. But I guess that means I would have had the option of Hollow Maraudering that turn. It still would have been the better line, but I don't think it would have changed things. Because I probably would have still went for the lifelinker here. This turn. Play the Raven and the lifelinker instead of just one blocker of Hollow Marauder. Badlands Revival. Oh boy. Another Outcaster Greenblade. And those are both 4 or 5s now. Big yikes. And we didn't hit land 6. If we hit land 6, Gigapede clears out one of them. Now instead we have to Hollow Marauder and do nothing else. If the other play is to play an intimidation campaign and hold to shoot the Sheriff for nothing. So here's Hollow Marauder. Because we might also be able to Hollow Marauder and hold to shoot the Sheriff, because we could just top deck a land. If this does end up drawing us a card. And it did, but it didn't draw us a land. We have to try to double block one Greenblade and then take 5. Nope, there's Murder for the Hollow Marauder, which also reanimates the Forsaken Miner. And their whole board is Outlaws. Alright, well, again, I certainly didn't play this one outright, but it didn't matter. We would have been monumentally dead no matter how we played this game out. So 6 and 3, kind of the predestined outcome of our draft. So close to the triple trophy in a row with blue-black. I am way higher on blue-black than I was when I started the format. This has seemed really, really nice with these last few. I think even this deck was capable of a 7-win run. And this was a blue-black build with 0 bomb rares. Our only rare in the deck is a Tiny Bones, which doesn't really qualify because it's so narrow. Most of the time, just a 1 mana, 1/1 Death Touch. Plays very comparably to Green's 1 mana, 1/1 Death Touch. Sure, we did get the pop off with it in like one of the games, but I really, really wouldn't count this as a bomb rare. So it's almost like a rareless version of blue-black. And this format has so many rares in it and so many bomb rares that kind of any rareless deck or almost rareless deck isn't particularly likely to get to a full 7-win run. So the fact that we had a really bomb light, rare light version of the build and it still got 6 and 3 makes me feel really nice about the archetype and about this deck in general. I think it was pretty awesome. For our biggest over and underperformers, the biggest underperformer pretty easily goes to Shoot the Sheriff. I had heard a lot of hype about this card, that it was actually better than I was giving it credit for because, you know, green creatures are nice and big and they're not really outlaws and stuff, but wow, did we run up against a lot of outlaws, black-red outlaws. We ran against a bunch of the green mercenaries and stuff, and we had this stuck in our hand in multiple of our games. So Shoot the Sheriff was pretty bad today. I would have way preferred to have just like 3 copies of Deserts do. So that was definitely the biggest underperformer. And the biggest overperformer, honestly, goes to the Tiny Bones. I didn't think we were actually going to get to use it at all, but in one game, we just kept milling our opponent with the Desperado and the Bloodseeker and stuff and casting multiple of their cards against them. That was really nasty. But that was just in one game, hence the whole being pretty narrow and most of the time just a 1-mana 1/1 Death Touch. But I was perfectly ready to play this card as exclusively a 1/1 Death Touch, just trying to live the dream in the back of my head. I'm just surprised it actually happened and we did live the dream, so that was pretty cool. So 6 and 3 will be the final run. Still a very positive record and still leaving with more gems than we paid to enter. So pretty far up in the money here, getting to keep all the cards and the packs for free. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.